Hello everyone. So in this session, we will look at how to create layouts, how to build layouts with HTML and CSS. Okay, we'll be looking at the patterns that we have available and the ones that we should prefer. Um, Basically, we're talking about building by best practice. So I have a design in front of us here, just a simple sketch that I cooked up that allows us to demonstrate what making a layout can look like in HTML with CSS. So let's dive in and get started. Okay, so we'll make a copy, an exact copy of what we see here, especially in terms of the proportion of the boxes and essentially the layout as we see it on the screen right now. So I've gone ahead to stack the design that we'll be producing to the right and here the text editor to the left. So that will make it easy for us to preview, or rather for us to see what we're aiming to achieve at the end of our code. So let's start by taking a look at the patterns that this sketch presents. Looking at the first row, we have a ratio. So what you see me present here, 1 and 3, these are ratios. Okay, imagine that you have a full width and there are two boxes that take the ratio 1:3. So this means essentially if this entire width was divided into 4, this first box here, the one that has 1, takes 1, and the box to the right takes 3. Okay, that means 1/4 and 3/4. Okay, in the same way we have the next row that has 4 columns or 4 boxes, 1 1 1 1. So this means 1/4 1/4 1/4 and 1/4. The next section, again, this is 2 boxes. Then you can see the first box is 2, the box to the right is also 2. So that means essentially if you add the 2 together, that gives you 4. So 2/4, the one to the right is also 2/4. Okay, we step down again to the last section, which also kind of nests like 2 rows. Okay, and we can see that from the first row we have 4 items on a row. The bottom row we have 3 items on a row. Again, all that this speaks to, the numbers that you see on the boxes, is ratio. Okay, so you can imagine that for the third or for the last row in the third section here, or rather the fourth section, so this is section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4. Okay, the fourth section and this last one here, so we see like 3 equal boxes. Okay, so this is 1/3 1/3 1/3. Essentially what this means is the width, if it's 100, if it's 100%, each box should take 1/3 of 100%. Okay, where we had 1 1 1 1, this should take 1/4 of 100%. 2 should take 2/4 of 100%. All right, so what we just observed here is kind of related to what we call a grid, and actually that's how we describe it in layouts. Okay, we have a grid structure presented here. So essentially what we're seeing is numbers between 3. From what we have here, we have numbers between, okay, we have 2 columns, 2, we have 3, we have 4, we don't have 5 and any others here. But by standards, a grid is, for the web, by standards, a grid is divided into 12. Okay, so that you can use that as a framework for any other kind of layout that you want to build that might be a bit more complex than this. Okay, so each row is divided into 12 equal columns, and then based on that we can achieve different layouts or different row and column structures. based on the 12 grids. So for instance, if we take a look at the first row here, we have 1:3. If we divide those into 12, what that means is the first one will be 4, and this would be the first one will be 3 rather, and this would be 9. Okay, how do we come about that? So obviously this is 1 plus 3, that's 4, right? To get 12, we have 4 times 3. So it means each number here has to be multiplied by 3. Okay, so 1 times 3, that's 3. 3 times 3, that's 9. So essentially, if I were to rewrite this, this would be 3, and this would be 9. Okay, the same thing we would do here. So again, this is 4 multiplied by 3 to get 12. It means each would be multiplied by 3. So this is a grid. If it was shared into 12 columns, this would be 3, 3, 3, and 3. Okay, so for the third section, if this was a grid, a row of 12 grids, 12 columns rather, we would have 6 and 6 over here, right? For this, which is similar to this section that we have here, this would be 3, 3, 3, 3. And then for the last one, we have 1, 1, 1. This should be like 4, 4, and 4. Obviously, that's 12. Okay. And then you can imagine that if you have something a bit more complex than that, you could have a case where maybe probably 4 on one side, maybe 3 and then 3 again, or 5, 3 and 2, as the case may be. Okay, as long as you add them up and they're equal to 12. And obviously they don't have to always round up to 12. And that's totally fine. So, but the understanding I want us to take away from this is the structure of a grid, the grid system in HTML and CSS, the structure that we will take to write our layouts. Okay, I think that will make sense in a bit while once we begin to write the code. So the next thing I would like us to consider is the concept of what we call flex box, which is a CSS feature that allows us to create, fluid layouts. Okay, layouts that can easily handle grid structures. And what I mean by that is, essentially you have a flex layout and you have columns in a container, and those columns wrap themselves based on the amount of content that you put into the container, and then you can decide with CSS how they should render, how they should stack around each other. That should be clearer in a bit. So let's get started. We'll start with the first section, obviously. And the strategy I would like to employ is to first of all write out the HTML the way I want it, and then move into CSS and produce the CSS all at once. Again, let's begin to introduce a few tags that probably we haven't really explored. I think we have looked at a div. We looked at maybe not a section tag, but obviously right now I will just limit everything I will be working on this document, on this template, to divs. Okay. So a div is a block level element. Whenever you use a div, it fills the row of the browser that you place it in. Whenever you use a div, it fills the entire row. Okay, it occupies a block. What that means is you can't have two divs on the same block without writing some CSS. Okay, essentially this is what I mean. If I write welcome and another div, say intro, regardless that these seem to be on the same line. Now take a look. welcome intro, right? When we check on our browser, this obviously will not be on the same line. Okay, I think I would close this and use the one from VS Code Live Server. Okay, so why do we have this? Because the div tag is obviously a block level tag. If we were using something like a span tag, we said welcome intro, right? You obviously observe that this one fit into one line because this is an inline element. Okay, the span tags are the kind of tags that we describe as inline elements. Okay, so we have basically block level elements and inline elements. All right, so in a bit that will make more sense. So just given that context now, we need to have a way to make two divs become inline somehow. Like if you take a look at 1 and 3, so this div I just put in a 1 there, the other div I put in a 3. We just have to find a way to make these two divs be on the same line. All right, and that's what we're looking at, how we will achieve with CSS. So Flexbox, which I introduced, would allow us to achieve this pretty quickly. Let's take a look at how this might happen. We'll define a div, give it a class of row, and move these other divs into that element. Okay, we'll give these ones a class of col, that's column, or let me just call it full-fledged column, right? And this will be given a class of column. Awesome. So I will create a CSS file that I will link to. Create a folder. I create the style.css, and then I will link into that style.css, css/style.css. Okay, then I would check into the CSS file and write some styles. So first of all, there are a few defaults, browser defaults, that I would like to reset. Okay, we have the margin. I would want it to have 0, padding as well have 0, and then box sizing to have value of border box. Okay, what that does is going to remove all the margins that we usually have around elements, so that we no longer have any margin anywhere. Box sizing takes care of how padding affects the width. Like usually without box sizing, when we have padding again is the space inside of an element. I think I will quickly demonstrate that right now. So yeah, I have the elements row and column. So for row, let me just give a background so that we can see it in effect. I'll give a background to that, and give a background to the column as well, the two columns. Give them width of 50%. Okay, I'll just use this value called float. Okay, that's not the value we would want to uphold, but let me just use it for now. Okay, background color, let's give a background color of maybe something aquamarine. All right, so right now we see that these two elements, the two elements actually now fill one line. Okay, so I think I would like to color the other one differently. I could say this should be yeah, let me give this a class of second or something. Okay, and then I would say colon dot second. And this syntax means any element that has the class colon also having the class of second. That's what this means. So you can see no space in there, together. Dot colon dot second means the colon that has the element that has a class of colon and also a class of second. All right. So I'm going to target it and give it a separate background color now, aqua. And now we can see clearly, maybe something more distinguishable, gray or golden rod. Okay, so now we can see that these two elements are in the block. So I can also give them a minimum height of 100 pixels so that they are more pronounced on the page. Okay, awesome. So 1, 3. That's it. We've gotten this div that usually should feel like the entire width of the screen to float side by side. So that's what the float does. So you can see without the float, regardless of the fact that we give them width of 50%, they still take up like an entire block, right? So because that's their nature, the nature of divs. So but the float allows us to place them again side by side. Now, demonstrating what paddings do, let's go ahead and add a padding of 10 pixels. Okay, now I would comment out padding again, and you see that everything floats properly, now fills up and aligns properly. As a matter of fact, a padding is supposed to give us a space inside and not outside. So when we apply a padding, it shouldn't push the element. It shouldn't increase the width of the container. Okay, the actual width of the container. But right now, when we apply a padding, it seems to do that. You can see the spacing that we want, the padding we want around the text is being applied, but then it adds to the width of the content of the boxes, right? So that's what box sizing fixes. You can see as I apply this right there, it fixes all of that. The padding is applied, which is spacing you see here to the left to the top, also here to the left to the top, but now it doesn't affect the width of the box. Yeah, that's basically what box sizing does. So yeah, just so that we have the context for why we're using every line of code that we have in our code. So yeah, I'll proceed from there on. Usually float was used to achieve this, sort of designs, but now flexbox, flex is the more appropriate one to use. So that's the better practice would uphold here. Again, I'll take the float off, and then let's figure out how else to get this to sit. And like I said, using the flex. So we'd say display on the row. Let's give it a value of flex, and obviously we get the container of the content sitting properly. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Just that, right? The display of flex on the row. Now let me explain something. Back into our HTML file. This has to be the structure. We have to have a row, okay, of whatever element it is. The class, the property of display of flex has to be given to the element that wraps directly the colons. And that's why we've used the name row and then colon. So this has to be wrapped by a row, okay, or whatever selector we use to give this a display of flex, okay. Like the rules that we have on the row right now have to be here on this level for colons under it to take this effect that we have right now. So what I mean is this, like what if we do row here and then come in between, create another div and put these under the div, then we would not have the effect. So they have to be directly under the row to get us the effect that we desire, right? So Just some heads up there, some gotchas you might face. Next, I'll try to play with this a bit. I would like to represent a couple of things on this row, or to test a bit around here to be sure that this satisfies my structure, the structure I want to use, because I want to be able to use the same structure on the code for all these other ones. Okay, so right now I have 2 items, right? What if I put in 4 items? What if I put in 4 items? Let me take these ones off. Yeah, so let's see. We have 5 items and they all flow again into that line. It means if we go ahead and have more and more, the way flex is going to do it, they will keep flowing into that single line. So that's flex for us. That's flex. That's how flex works. But this may not be essentially how I want this to work. What if I want essentially these blocks to be 50% of the width of the screen, each of these boxes, but then to continue to wrap down until to accommodate more content or more boxes along the way. How may we do that? Obviously, because we have width of 50%, that should be done. But then on the row itself, we should have a property called flex wrap. Flex wrap should be given a value of wrap. And then you can see, obviously, the boxes have been properly aligned. Okay, to obey the width that we gave to the column, right? That's how we achieve that layout. So what that means is now we can easily say, okay, 20%, for instance, and everything flows, or 25% and everything flows. Okay, 25% gives us 4 items on a row. Okay, and already we can see how that we can achieve all of these designs for a 3 columns on a row. That's obviously 100 divided by 3. That gives us 33.33. Okay, percent. If we check, that's 3 items on a row. Awesome. All right, so let's proceed from here. Now that we've gotten a feel of what this grid structure looks like, let's now apply it to the designs that we have here. So I'll begin with the first column. Again, take these off. So the first column, yeah, those have been settled. But one thing I want us to note here is this. Right now, this is colon, right? There's nothing that tells that this column should be rendered as a 1 or a 3. Okay, 3 ratio. Like the first column right here and second column right here, there's nothing telling us that. So I would like to introduce another class that would just explicitly specify or deal with what size or what width each column gets. And I would like to do it in relation with the 12 column grid structure that I explained earlier on. Okay, so if we take a look at this is 1:3. By what I explained earlier on, this should be a 3 out of 12. The second one should be a 9 out of 12. Right? A 3 out of 12, a 9 out of 12. And then you can see 3 plus 9 gives us a 12. Then let's see how we can interpret this, write the code to make this work. So we switch back here and we'd say, let's target the column 3, okay, and give it a width of, what would 3 be? That should be 33%, right? 33.33% actually. we target colon 9. What should that give us? Width of so 33.33 times 9 times 3, that's obviously 99.999%. Is that actually correct? But let's see. So actually, a better way to do this math is to take 12, divide, to do 1 over 12 times 100, okay? Because we're taking the rows to be broken into 12 columns, right? One row should be broken into 12 columns. So that gives us like a 1 over 12 of 100. So actually, let's just put a comment here, and that this is how we create comments in CSS. So everything that is within the comment will not be interpreted in the browser, okay? So here we just take notes. So for column 1, I'll pull up my calculator over here, and then I'll type in 1 over 12, 1 divided by 12 times 100. That gives us 8.333. So when we have a 1, we should have 8.3333, maybe up to 4 digits percent, right? So column 2 should have this, which is 8.333 times 2. So what we have here is what should represent 1 out of 12, right? So essentially 8, this value times 2 should give us 16.6666%. The next should be so I'll keep adding 8.333 to that. Okay, 8 plus 8.3333, we get 24.999. So for 3 we have 24.9999%. Again, plus 8.3333. So essentially, by the time we're done, we have these values from column 1 to column 12. All right. So we'll go right ahead and copy these values and make classes for each of these. Okay, CSS classes. So we have column 1 would say the width for it should be 8.3333%, right? Just go ahead and copy this. No, that shouldn't be. Okay. With okay. Yeah. This for column 3. Awesome. Well set. So with this bunch of work that we just did now, I can go ahead and delete this. Let's now see how we can apply this to the columns that we have right now, the boxes that we have. So if I decide to say, okay, this is 3, column 3 and 9, let me see what it looks like on the browser. So I'll go ahead and close this. So right now, let me put again the other class. So we can obviously see that 1 takes 3 columns. The second box takes 9. Okay, and you can see that ratio playing out on the browser there. If we change this to 2, 7, for instance, we can see actually is applied and the extra space is preserved. Okay, change this to 8 to 8. Obviously it grew a bit. What about 10, where you should not fill up the width? Awesome. So yeah, basically we've just gotten our grid structure in place and we're ready to reuse this across the other sections. So let's begin to apply now. I'll revert this back to 3 and 9, and then I'll simply just make copies of this, paste and adjust. Okay, so for the second section we have just mix these up. So this 1 1 1, right? Then this should be 3 3 3 3, and then we'll see on the browser 1 1 1 1. So 4 items in a row. Awesome. The next should be 2 items in a row, right? But now I want you to observe this has, okay, first of all, let's see take effect. Oh, we didn't use the right ratios, colon 6. Yeah, and it all fills up now. But then again, within this other box we have like 2 sections, like this top section and this bottom section. This bottom section also takes 2, right? So within the first one, the first box, I'll put in a div with a class of colon again, colon. So this at first this should be a row, because we observe that we need to have a row and then the colons under them, right? So I have a row and we have 2 colons under them. Again, let me just make a copy of this and paste actually. Yeah, so this should, the first one here, looking at the circle here, that should be like in ratio to the width there, that should be like a 3 or 2. Then the second column should be like a 10, just to fill up, right? Awesome. And then we have the other box to the right. So, and let's see that. Awesome. So you can see, so this is section that we just created now. So this little box here, we're not actually styling it this way. I just put that there, and obviously we can do that in a follow-up video. But we quite alright have that layout, except for the one under, which we should make right now. Again, that should be a copy of the row that we have, and again it just has 2 colons, but now equal colons. So colon 6, and that should be it. So we can see that that plays out quite nicely. Okay, yeah. So maybe one thing I might want to add just to differentiate these elements, maybe some margin to the bottom, of 10 pixels. Yeah, so to kind of give some space around. Yeah, awesome. Okay, the next thing I'm going to look at is how we might achieve the spacing between these. Okay, it's very important that we know that that's a part of the design. That's a requirement for the design. We need to achieve those spacings. Now, how might we do this? So let's take a look. These are colons, right? And obviously they should be made to take up the addressable width without accounting for the space between. So what that means is I should be able to say this is 3 and 9, and that colon should fit and flow and complete the proportions in terms of width, not accounting for the space. So I have to find another way to account for the space. Okay, so usually what I would do is this. I would imagine that there is one div that controls the width, okay, the proportions of these elements, and then another div that controls like the visibility, the visible area that is presented, okay, on the browser. The visible area. By visible area, I'm looking at this outline that defines that this is a box. Again, this outline, which can also have a background color. And another div should be handling that presentation, okay, or the design. One div, which should be the colon, should handle only the proportioning, and then another div inside of the colon should handle the actual visual element. Now all of these columns are going to have divs inside of them, all of these. So let me look for a smart way to do that. Okay, so I'll just click at the back of these. So I will not have another div. I could call this div like content or something, or the actual container, okay, like the container, right? And then go ahead to put in stuff in there, okay, like box, for instance. Then I'll take away these texts, because now they are supposed to live in the container. All right, so what does this help us achieve? I think I wasn't done with that. We'll go ahead and put a box here, a container, and wrap this row within it. So essentially every column has a container within it. Ooh. So here we go. I have a box in here. Yeah, we don't have a ton there, so let me leave it on one line. Yeah, obviously right now we have no change particularly done, right? That like there's no change that we've made to this. Everything still looks the same, right? But obviously we're getting very close to what we want. Again, I'll put this back, container, box. Oh, I didn't add containers within these boxes. I just put a box there. Yeah, so this should actually be container. Okay, box. I can take this one off. Yeah. Again, no visual change yet, except for just making this box. But now this is what this allows us to do. Imagine that we're trying to achieve space with the coloring being on the rows themselves. That won't be possible. And let me just show us. Again, inspect. You click, select this, I click into this box. Now I want to achieve space by using margin. Margin gives us a space outside, right? I can obviously do margin and do margin 1. You can see as we increase the margin, even if it's 0.1, obviously that's like adding on top of 100%. Like we can't have more than 100% of anything, right? So like right now already we can see that the colon, this particular one here, is given a 33.3, which is added up to this to make it a 100. If we add a margin, it's going to give space outside of that of the container, and it's going to overshoot the addressable width, or the it's going to overshoot the width of the container essentially. Yeah, that's what that margin would do. So we don't want to use margin ever to achieve space outside or the space between colons. That's why it wouldn't have been possible for us to do that on this. Not totally impossible, but at least not without flooring some best practice. All right, so now that we've put the background color off of this into here, or at least not quite, but in terms of structure, we've made that possible. We can now go into our CSS, take off the background color on the row, take off the background color on the colon. Okay, we don't need the one off of the row. Let's just leave that there. But obviously we don't really need the background color there, and the background color on the colon should also go. This also should go. Then where would we put the background color, right? We have a container, so let the containers take the background colors, right? I think I had aquamarine previously. Awesome. Okay, including the minimum width that we had here, that should also go to, including the padding. I guess the padding should remain. We can have the padding there, but yeah, but let me just take that padding off too, because we don't really need it there right now. So I'll place the minimum height here. So I'll place the minimum height there. We see the results. Okay, so right now the colorings are not just there yet, but obviously we can. I had second around a couple of colons. So if I want the color back again, I can say now, instead of the color being on the colon, I'll say wherever I have a class of second, the container under it, should take a background color of that color that I used previously, right? Maybe blue, violet, or brown. Awesome. Okay, we have achieved the same thing that we had, only now with different colors, right? But then we still don't have the space between them. How can we achieve that space? Now we will see that it's going to be easy for us to look at colons and say, okay, wherever we have colons, let's give them a padding, because padding produces space within. Okay, so being that the padding is going to be on the colon itself and not on the box that has background color, we can see that when we give a padding of 10 pixels, for instance, okay, we can see the change, how it's been applied. The spaces are applied on the colon and not on the element with the background color. I hope that makes sense. And we can choose and decide how we want that to happen. Obviously, that's what we want. I think we haven't gotten this section pretty right, but this is what we want essentially. Okay, so when we test things in the browser here, we type in like the padding that I provided here. It's not going to be saved to the file. So like you can observe that if I refresh, it's gone. So what we have to do is to make sure that the things that we fiddled on the browser to achieve, we can copy them back into our code. And somehow we can actually sync our CSS to the browser and make that happen. But I'm not showing that right now because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So the most reliable thing to do would just be to place the values here. Okay, awesome. So we have those spaces around. Okay, so let's look at the last section here and see what we are not getting right. So usually when you're doing some work and you're not getting the effect that you want, you can easily inspect the elements in the browser and maybe understand what's going on, right? So let's take a look. So we have this row right here that has two columns, right? This column and the other column, right? So this other column is fine because that's all we have in there, just one box. So, but the second column, let's see, something seems to be off. So we have the column, we have the paddings, we have a row, a container, you have a row, and the row has a column. Oh, I see what's going on. I see what's going on. Like this column has a background that it's not being differentiated from the other backgrounds. I see. So I will just go ahead and remove this second here. Yes, so that it just takes this other background color. Yeah, that's it. Let's take this off. Awesome. So we have this session looking right already. So next would just make a copy again of this row and to achieve the last row, right? So let's just type that out. A row. So you might be wondering how I'm able to type the row and get this autocomplete. That's a feature of VS Code. I believe other text editors should have similar features. Okay, so we have now the last section that we're trying to put up. So within that column, I have another row, which is the first row that I have here. Row, and then that row has 4 columns, right? Column, and they are all columns that should take 3 grids or 3 pieces of the 12 grid, right? So I'll just make copies of those. But before I make copies, let's add the container and put the box in there. Yeah, then we can make copies of this now. Yeah, so 4 of them sitting quite right. So that's the first row in here. The next row should, yeah, obviously I can copy and paste and take 1 row off, and this is for 2 or 3 items on a row. Yeah, let's see how that fits. Yeah, right now it appears that the last row, okay, the column property that we have here, I can see how that we gave each column width of 33%, and obviously that's not what we want. Or maybe we would say 100%. So each column should take 100%. Like if you just had a dot column, let the width be 100%, except if it's given a column 1, column 2, or column 3, in which case the width for those particular ones will apply. So that's what I would do right here. So instead of 33%, I would say 100. Awesome. So by that, we've achieved this and this. Obviously, when you look at this, or wherever you see something like this means an image, okay? An image. So if we wanted to complete this design, actually, we could go ahead and create a circle and put some text to the right, and put an image and put some text to the right, image, and some text to the bottom. And yeah, it's fine if we just take a few minutes to do that actually. So for the box here, I would have two elements, which would be the image and so I'll actually want that image in a div as well, so that I can use a div to control the image. Yeah, but yeah, for now, let's just have it that way. So I'll say some description. So what I'm looking at is this card right here, okay? So I can go ahead and call this a card, so that probably we can target the card and give it a special style. Can give it a style. So I'll call that card, I'll call this description, and then this will be Lauren text, like very short text. So this should be reduced. And that's how all the others should be. Oh, obviously I'm putting this in the wrong place. But let me copy it first of all and undo. Okay, so essentially in HTML we can create comments. So I would like to use comments to differentiate these sections. So this is how we create comments. We have /, have this, place this, and have the hyphens, double hyphen, then some text will go in here, double hyphen, close this. Okay, so in VS Code we can actually get a comment by doing command or control /. Okay, command on the Mac, control on PC. Okay, so we'll do command /, which is, this is the key, this is / key. Okay, whatever the key is that you have this symbol, that's /. So that gives you this also. So yeah, I would say this is the first section, or section 1, section 2, section 3, and section 4. All right. Okay, so under this section 4, I have this one up here. I think that's where I want to that was the section where I was working to achieve the design there, right? So I will just copy, I already copied, so I will just paste that card design right there. So obviously this is going to go into the container, or into the colon, so I'll move that into the colon rather. Awesome. So cut this, I'll paste in for this. So let's get some images into this document, right? I'll go ahead and take that comment off. Let's see the images that we have. So I've gone ahead to create an image folder, copied a couple of images in there. Yeah, let's get those, let's put those to use. So right now I think we're done with this. I can actually reduce this. Yeah, that's fine. So in the image section here, let's get some images. So we're in the intro.html document. Yeah, from here we should actually find the images folder, the image folder, and then pick some image. Awesome. So let's see what this looks like on the browser. All right, so we have a bunch of images that's so big. They're so big and they are filling up, you know, they're messing up the design essentially. All right, so what I would like to do here is to give this image, to give these images a width, okay, that should not be more than the width of the container. So everywhere I have an image tag, I would say the maximum width of this image, that this image should not have a width that is more maximum than 100% of its container. Okay, that's what this instruction is going to interpret into. And then obviously when that's applied, you can see the image fills up just 100% of the container. But then the image is still popping out, right? I think we can give this image a height of, let's say, 300 pixels, right? But now when we do that, the image is distorted. So we can see now that we have a height. The width is 100, is 100%. The height is 300 pixels, and we can see that everything aligns. But some of the images are not filling up the width anymore. So what if we went ahead to give a width of 100%? Okay, so now look what we're doing. We are now stretching the image. You can see that if this was a human face, you would see that the width, I mean the dimensions of the image will be somehow stretched and squashed. Like you see a straight face now looking oblong, like an egg shape. Let me see if I actually have a human face in the image and I could use, so that makes it a bit clearer. Let's see. Okay, let's try this. Vic. Apply to the first one. So image slash Vic. So we can see the actual image that we have here is like straight, normal, but this one is stretched. So we don't ever want to handle images by their width. We don't ever want to apply width to an image.